Hey crew, I'm just going to talk you through quickly the exporting process for the stems for assessment 2. So I've got a Pro Tools session here, probably looks pretty similar to how yours looks. If we just have a quick look, the idea for today is to export our stems. So if we just have a bit of a look at our tracks, and if I zoom out a little bit, you can see we've got all of our drum elements, we've got more drum elements, we have some percussion, we've got some bass, we have our guitar layers, vocals, and then some harmonies. So just so you get a little idea of the track, it sounds like this. We've used this one as a demo a couple of times. So hopefully this is in a similar state to your assessments. I've done a super rough little mix on it here, and we can see that the levels at the moment are peaking, which if you don't have a master fader, I bet yours probably are too. So just to correct that real quick, super quick fix, I'm going to select the track that's all the way on this side next to the master. I'm just going to scroll all the way down, hold down Shift, select this one, and I'm going to hit Command G to make a group, and it's essentially everything other than my master. So now I can play it back and pull the levels down until I have a nice healthy level sitting on my master somewhere around that area. Close enough, it's not going to be peaking now, and we've got a little bit of headroom. So to export stems, I'm going to talk you quickly through two methods. First method, let's say that you're working on a indie rock thing, kind of like this. Chances are you're probably going to want full editing control over the levels still, and processing of each of these little elements. Even though there's only a couple of little harmony sections, we probably don't want to group these together just yet. I'm going to show you how to do that because that will apply to some groups, but for most of you, you're going to want to do every track separately. So just as a quick thing, take that group off, and if I select any track, I can create a group by doing Option Shift 3, which is consolidate. So you can see there, I've just made a file that has nothing on it. If you want to do it the lazy way, you can go up here and go to Consolidate Clip if you forget what the shortcut is, and you'll render yourself a new audio file. But if you remember how to do it with the shortcut, Option Shift 3, perfect. So what we're going to do is highlight all of our tracks, and the key thing is it doesn't really matter if they end at different lengths. What's important is that they all start at exactly the same point, so the very start of your session, because when I import this into a different DAW, if I want to bring all these stems into Ableton, I need to be able to bring all of them in, and they all should butt right up against up at the start, and I should be able to start from there. So if I highlight this guy and I consolidate it, that's fine. I could start this one and it could end at a different time, and that would also be fine because when they import into the session, they'll start at the same point. But for easy sake, let's highlight everything, make sure that we have everything captured at the end. We haven't cut it too short. Whew, right on the money with that one. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to hit Option Shift 3, and it's going to work its way through doing all of those tracks. So if I load up where this session is actually created, probably should have looked for this first. Let's go to our dates modified, this guy right now, and my audio files. There's all my freshly created audio files, all made right now, or a minute ago. So now that they're all in there, we have these nicely rendered files. Fantastic. What I want to do is export these samples. So if I go Command Shift K, what it's going to bring up is exporting my selected files, and I have some settings I can choose in here. So if you have a particular sample rate or a particular type of file that it needs to be when you export it, you can set that up in here. If you export as QuickTime, that's going to include a video as well, so we're not doing video, so it's fine. So for us, if we select a WAV file, you can select it to be interleaved or multiple mono. Because I'm doing individual files and I want these to import into a new session as individual files, I want multiple mono. My sample rate and bit depth can match the session, or it can match the files. Let's say we want them to be 4824. And when we do this, it's going to ask us where we want to save these. We may as well actually create a new folder. I'm just going to do this on my desktop. If I create a new folder, which is my AUD180 stems. Awesome. It's going to export these stems into here. That's a new folder. And as I hit export, it's going to do this one file because I've only got one selected. Beautiful. Go to my desktop, my stems, and there it is. Perfect. So let's say I want to do all of them. I'm going to highlight and make sure I capture all of these files. I don't need my master track, but it doesn't really matter. Now that they're highlighted, I'm going to go Command-Shift-K, and I'm going to export. Perfect. So now it's working its way through the files, and we should see we start to get all of these files just slowly populating in this folder as they get processed. So these are the individual raw files that we're going to process. Because these are raw files and we're exporting the actual waveform that exists here, it's not going to have any mixing that we've applied to it actually come through in these stems. So if I import these stems into a new session, I am going to have to mix it from scratch again. That's what all of you are probably going to need to do. This rough mix will help you to get a basic idea of it. But if you want to mix in Ableton or Logic, you can grab these files, bring them in, and you can start your mix process fresh. It does take a minute because we're rendering completely new files, but that's fine. So this is what you need to do for your submissions for this week. The next process I'm going to show you, you won't really need to do for this assignment because this is the way I want you to do it, but I'll show you so that if you are collaborating with somebody and maybe you're creating a track that you're going to get someone to put a vocal layer over, maybe you want to send them some mixed stems of groups of your tracks all together. So all of your drums grouped as one stereo file. Cool, so we're back in our session. So if we think about it this way, I have all of my tracks in here at the moment, all going out to output 1 and 2, which makes sense. What I want to do is actually render some new audio files. So to do this, I'm going to create some groups. If I highlight everything, that's going to be my drums. I then have some percussion. I have bass, even though it's actually just a single bass track. I am going to create a new group so that I can render it out at the level and with any processing that I might have applied to it that I might want to send to somebody. So I've got my keys. I've then got, if I was actually paying attention, I'd do lead guitar and rhythm guitar, but let's just do this quickly. You can make as many as you need to. I have my lead vox because that track 2 is a double, and then I have my harmonies. Perfect. Okay, so you can see over here we have drums, percussion, bass, keys, guitar, lead vocals, and harmonies. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what I'm going to do now is create 7 new stereo audio tracks, and those are all going to come into here, and I'm going to label them drums, percussion. These are essentially just subgroups. You already know how to create subgroups. We're just doing something slightly different with them. And harmonies. And what I'm going to do with each of these is I am going to, let's go down to my drums. Perfect, get rid of that guy. Move up to my percussion. Awesome, so now there's percussion next to percussion. Drums next to drums. Get rid of percussion. Move this to the other side of my bass. Whoop. Move this to the other side of my keys. Move this to the other side of my guitars. Move this to the other side of my lead vocals. And move this to the other side of my harmonies. So now I have my subgroups. So now what I'm going to do is send all of these elements into this subgroup track. These guys into this one. Bass into its bass track. So to do this, if I select one of my elements, hold down Shift, go to my other, then to apply the same setting to everything that I have selected, Option is to apply the same setting, and holding down Shift means it's going to apply it to only the ones that are selected. I'm going to send these guys to bus 1 and 2, and now my drum subgroup is going to get its signal from bus 1 and 2. The percussion is going to go out to bus 3 and 4. Percussion subgroup gets it from bus 3 and 4. My bass, even though it's just one track, we'll do it anyway. It'll go out to 5 and 6. Comes in 5 and 6. I think you guys get the gist now. 7 and 8. 7 and 8. Grab all my drums. Oh, sorry, my guitars. Send them to 9 and 10. Bring it in on 9 and 10. Nearly done. Lead vocals. Go to 11 and 12. This guy gets its sound from 11 and 12. And my harmonies, 13 and 14, come in 13, 14. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to select all of my subgroups, and I'm going to hold down Option Shift to apply the same thing, but to only the selected tracks. And I'm going to input monitor and record enable these tracks. And what we should see is that our mix should be coming through on all these tracks. If we press play on a part where the song actually exists. Cool, so things that are playing, coming through on these subgroups, fantastic. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, just so that we don't have to see all of this junk in here, is I am going to just hide all of the raw tracks so that I can just see my mix. Done. Well, apart from one guitar, that guy. So now I've got drums, percussion, bass, keys, guitars. Now if I go back to here and I hit record, I'm just going to record a little 30-second sample. So we can hear a little bit coming through of everything. We just didn't get to a part where our keys played yet or our harmonies, but we can see that we've got a balance. Now, because I've got something recorded on here, I'm just going to hold down Option and unrecord enable and uninput monitor, Option Shift to solo just these guys, so none of these other tracks are actually soloed. And if we play it back, it actually sounds like our rough mix because these have been recorded out at the levels that we had set. Now, to export these, to send them to somebody that you're collaborating with, it is exactly the same process as we did before. We highlight them, we go Command, Shift, Okay, we bring up this guy. The only thing that we probably want to do differently is we want to say interleaved, because we don't want this to be my drums left channel, my drums right channel, all as separate files, unless you want to, which you're welcome to. I'm going to choose one new folder just so we can see them real quick inside of here, which is my stereo, if I can spell it correctly. Stereo stems. Awesome. Say that's where we want to put them. Export these guys, and now in this folder I have my stereo stems. If I get info, we can see that it is a 2-channel example. If you want to real quickly see what the difference would be if we did them as multiple mono, if I export them, we will see in here now we have left, right, and we have separate individual mono files rather than an interleaved one. But that's the basic process. So to do yours, what I would probably expect, let's hide all those tracks that we just created and make active the original mix that we had, all those guys. So this export process is what I would probably expect you to do, so that I can actually see all those individual recordings that you've done, and that will be useful for you, because then if you want to try mixing it in a different DAW, you have that option. If you want to mix it in a different DAW for your assessment, you're welcome to. The only thing is it needs to be a DAW that I have access to, so Logic, Ableton, or Pro Tools preferably. If you want to do anything other than those three, come and talk to me and we can figure it out. But that's it. Thanks very much.